Welcome to Brussels, everybody. It is very rainy and humid here. All the sunny weather that we had on this trip has officially gone, but I come from the Pacific Northwest, and so it feels just like home. So today I'm going to be doing a flea market. Some of my reselling friends already hit this up a few days ago on their trip, and they said it was an experience. So I guess it's a bit of a digger, which if you know me, you know I don't love to really get in there. I prefer curated booths that I can shop and all the work's done for me. So we'll see what I find. Luckily, surprise, I actually have space in my suitcases. So I thought I was at capacity, but I'm not. Definitely motivated to bring more back because then the cost per item for the baggage amount is better. So that's at least what I'm telling myself. I'm hoping it's still going on because it is open air and it is raining, but I'm assuming since we're in a rainy climate most of the time, they probably have tents of their stuff, so we'll see. But very excited to hit the market today. So this market, like I said, is a bit of a digger. So you can see all those boxes. And then here, I really like this wooden die and these tiles. They have the shell inlay are really pretty. I also kind of like this giant bronze cat. So I gotta look around before I start bringing out my euros. It's wild to me how much of this stuff gets rained on, and the elements like these really beautiful paintings. I mean, it has a hole in it, but it's still a pretty piece. Just out in the elements, getting wet and dirty. A really cool brass hook. I really like that. And then of course your monkeys we see a lot. And this is an Italian frame, which love these too. So definitely seen some small stuff to pick up. I actually really like these abstract paintings for a change. You don't really see many pieces like this. It's all usually landscapes and portraits. This marble bird is incredible. Wow. Absolutely love it. Okay, so right off the bat, prices are definitely higher, even though everything is wet and broken. Which always is so maddening. And when someone's rude to me, I don't want to give them the money because I guess I'm spiteful that way. So I'm just like, well, forget it. If you don't want to negotiate with me, I'm not going to buy it, even though I like it. So I don't know what that says about my personality, but hopefully we can come home with something. A beautiful etched teapot. You guys know I always have loved these. Has a little black top on it, which is very cute. This vendor has some actually pretty pottery and cute little items. Kind of attracted to this. I mean, obviously it goes on a light fixture. I like the gold chain just as is. Something to maybe like suspend a piece of art from on a wall because it's so ornate. So anyways, yeah, a lot of different just bits and bobs. I love this little box because it has painted and wood inlay details. I'm gonna ask about this. Okay, and a beautiful original floral. You see the stroke marks, and I like the frame, and it's a good size for me to pack. And then also found this Polish box. And then this piece is good, but you can kind of see this is fake. These aren't actual brush strokes. It's made to look like brush strokes, where this actually has brush strokes. So I'm gonna ask how much all these cost. So I always make sure to go through every single art box to see. Ooh, because you never know what gems could be hiding. I love the full scene on this. Very moody. Okay, I gotta see how much it is. Lots of beautiful wood inlay boxes. This one? Oh, that's a bummer. So it's leather wrapped. Really a neat piece. This is a pretty box too, with the inlay. Largely good shape. Oh, can't open it on camera. Ooh, let me see that. Ah, ashtray. See a lot of marble ashtrays here. I do really well with them back home, but I don't know if I want to take some of this heavy back with me. I'd take this home in a heartbeat if I could. How fantastic. So all the stuff that's getting manhandled and broken is free. So I'm getting this painting for free, and there's a few other things for free. So I gotta go through these boxes before they're all broken to see if there's anything else I want. Good morning. So it's the next day after that market, and I am packing up my bag. So I'm getting all the art that I bought. I bought 7 pieces of art, into my suitcase. One piece I'm gonna have to cut off the frame because it doesn't fit, but I got it for free. So I can cut up something that I got for free because the person was giving away everything in their booth by the end of it. And so I got 2 pieces of art for free, which was awesome. And this one, it already has some damage. So it's just, you know, it's just one of those things that taking it off is probably fine. But I wanted to show you how I'm nesting pieces together because I'm running low on packing materials. I did grab some cardboard off the street. Luckily, it was garbage night last night, so I was able to rummage through the garbage and get some cardboard, some clean cardboard. But I'll show you how I am packaging some of these things up, because when you buy art on board, which I tend to do when I'm in Europe, canvas and then stuff on board, the art on board can help protect the art on canvas. So I'll show you kind of how I'm doing this like little sandwich. Okay, so here's an example of a piece of art that's a canvas, and it already has a little bit of give in the canvas. So I put cardboard to protect it. Usually I would put another layer of like paper between, but I'm out. So I just put the clean side of the cardboard down. That should be fine. And then because I like to usually protect the back side as well, I'm putting a piece of art on board underneath. And then this one gets the protective wrap of bubble. And then I'm going to take this piece, the nude. So avert your eyes if you don't like that. I'm going to put that face down on this piece, and then this is the protective thing. So it'll be like a sandwich, and then I will tape around the whole thing, and then it'll just be several layers of art stacked together, and then they're all protected with a hard board as the protective outer shell. And then if I feel like I need to do some protecting on the frames, I'll do that, but these ones are pretty beat up, so I don't really worry about it. I'm more so worried about the art. So that is my art sandwich doing the same thing here. This picture right here has a hard frame, so that's easier to protect, and then a piece of cardboard here, and then I'll probably oh no, that's board as well. So this is another like sandwich. So just a way to pack up a lot of art if you have it. So this is the piece I have to cut off the canvas, which I know is going to cause a lot of grief for some of you. I don't like to have to do it either, but I'm not going to leave it here. And that hole there, I mean, it's already damaged. It's been manhandled and kicked around. You should have seen the way that this vendor was just kicking all this art around. It was crazy. I'm not surprised it has holes in it, but I'm going to cut really close to the nails, and then I'll be able to have a little bit of room to kind of fold over and put it on board if I wanted to. I think it will live another day once I cut it off, but yeah, this is how you got to get art home sometimes, which is a bit of a bummer, but it was free, so I'm willing to cut it off. Okay, there she is, off of her canvas. All the leftover packaging that I'm not taking with me is there. And then I have a bunch of plastic bags. So I'm gonna roll it with the plastic, hoping to not make this flake and bend too much. That's my goal. So welcome back to the States. We are in my studio space. The haul I'm gonna show you is not super huge, which is not surprising given the footage that you just saw, because there are probably only 24 vendors. It's a daily market, so I'm not sure if that number fluctuates during the week or if it's weather dependent on how many people showed up, but I did manage to get some really cool art pieces that I'm excited about. Now, like I mentioned on the footage, that shopping experience was very unique. It's not my favorite to have to dig through boxes of stuff that's just busted up and broken. So much of it was open to the elements, so everything was wet and damaged, and the entire square in between the cobblestones was glass everywhere. So it was a wild place to shop. And then 2 of the vendors got into fist fights while I was there, and so they're bloody noses and shouting. Everyone seemed kind of grumpy. It was definitely an experience. Now, I don't know if this is how it is all the time, but I was like, oh man, like to go from Bruges, which was like a fairy tale city, and then that shopping experience, which was just so wonderful, to this, I was like, it was a very stark contrast, to say the least. So I was very surprised. Now, I got some stuff I'm excited about, but I can't like recommend that market in terms of like an amazing European shopping experience. I've definitely been to places that, you know, have less fist fights. But anyways, can't wait to show you what I got. Nearly every piece of art I picked up has a Moody vibe to it. And this painting I thought was stunning. It's one of the first things I grabbed. It is painted on board, which is kind of my preference. If I'm buying unframed art in Europe, I would prefer it to be on board than a canvas, just because, you know, obviously it's a lot more durable compared to a canvas that can easily get punctured. But I thought this Moody landscape was phenomenal, and this will be available on Etsy. Another beautiful Moody piece of art is this lovely canvas. It definitely is giving me fall vibes. I just thought it was great. I mean, I love Moody art. I don't decorate with Moody art, but I definitely pick it up because it's a good seller, especially Moody florals are a good seller for me. This one is actually a canvas, and it doesn't have any punctures, which was amazing. A miracle, frankly. But it's artist signed in the corner. I love this artist signature. I thought it was really cool how they did it. So anyways, this will be available on Etsy too. I just thought it was a phenomenal piece. And like I said, anytime you can find a canvas that doesn't have a hole in it, it's a miracle. So definitely had to bring this home. So I got 2 pieces of art for free. I think I mentioned that in the footage. This is one of them, and it definitely has a hole. Hello, there's my finger. So it has like a slit here and a hole here. But frankly, I just thought it was a really cute, colorful piece of art. This one was a little less moody than the others. It's dated down here. I think that's 1967. Although it almost was giving me 1867, but that just seems almost too old for it. So I think it's 1967. But I don't know. It looks so much like the towns that I saw on my trip. I really fell in love with it. I'm probably gonna sell it, but not online, just because when they have flaws like this, I kind of want the buyer, to be able to see it and handle it in person versus online, because they may be like, oh yeah, that's totally fine, and then get it and be like, oh no, the holes are even more obvious than I thought. So I don't mind art that has flaws and holes and tears. I think it just adds to like the history and the experience that the art had in its life, but I know that's not everyone's take on art that has noticeable flaws, but I got it for free. So the next piece of art is a nude. I'm gonna cover her up, not because I don't think you guys can handle it. I think we all can handle it, but I don't know if YouTube can't handle it, frankly. So anyways, here she is, the nude. She's framed. I thought she was really great. I'm gonna sell her on my booth space at Tiny Brambles. I just think like with the market there, it could do well. I just loved how she was like, you know, more like voluptuous. I also really liked her hairstyle. Like it's like bouffant. You know, I'm a woman who loves and celebrates, you know, volume in hair. So I just, you know, I looked at her, I'm like, I see you in your hot rollers. I mean, I think this is older than maybe when hot rollers were used. I don't know. But anyways, I just thought it was really great. I got this as a bundle, I believe, with either this one or this one. They were willing to give me a little bit off if I took the naked lady home. So I'm like, all right, I'll do it. She's painted on board, which was great. So I was like, okay, another thing that's gonna protect, you know, the other pieces of art. So another reason to bring her home. But yeah, this will be available in my booth. So I actually got 2 wooden boxes. So this one is most likely a Polish wooden box, which you guys know I pick up Polish carved boxes all the time. They sell really, really well, especially with folk art things being really popular and growing in popularity. I think this type of box or any type of painted box is gonna get hotter and hotter. But this one I thought was great. I loved the darker tone woods and all of the detailing. It's in really good shape, doesn't really have any breakage, which was a miracle again, given where I bought it from. This vendor who sold this to me and a piece of art that I'm gonna show you next was really sweet. One of the only ones in the whole market, but he also was the vendor that was closest to my age. He was younger, and definitely you could tell like more hip and with it, with the world, rather than just like a disgruntled older gentleman that you could tell didn't want to be there and probably was there for 30 years. But yeah, this guy was really lovely. So shopping from him and paying a little bit up for things didn't like, you know, I was okay with that because the vendor was nice. If the vendor was too grumpy or rude, I was like, you know what? No, not buying from you. Nope, not gonna do it. I did get this really beautiful box too. This one has hand painted detailing and kind of the burnt wood edges. So I think it's almost like a combination of that pyrography. I never know if I'm saying it right. Pyrography and just hand painted details. This on here, I forgot to look it up, is probably a town. Oftentimes these are souvenir boxes, which I think is kind of sweet. That these were the types of souvenirs that people got, you know, decades ago versus you think of the souvenirs that we have to choose from, which are usually plastic. and made in China and have no character to them. But I thought this one was really great. This is also in good shape, just a little bit of splitting here, but that's pretty common in boxes over time, you know, with the humidity, especially one like this that would have been stored in God knows what type of environment. I mean, it's amazing the lid even goes back on, frankly. But yeah, I was really excited about these 2 boxes. So the final thing I have to show you from that shopping day is this beautiful Moody floral. I thought it was incredible. You can see all the beautiful brush strokes. It's framed nicely. It's just a very cool piece painted on board. Now, I may already have a buyer for this. Someone reached out to me because I did an Instagram reel that kind of showed that shopping experience that day. And I posted it actually while I was still in Belgium. And someone reached out to me saying that whenever this goes live, they would like to have first dibs. And I said, okay. So if they pass on it, then it'll be available for you guys. So just so you know, so if you ever see in my Etsy shop the word hold in the title of the listing, that is because it's on hold for someone. So I've had a lot of people lately buy the hold listings even though they are not for them. So just in case there's any confusion, if I ever put hold in the Etsy listing title, that means it is on hold for someone, and if it doesn't sell, then I will take that away and then it will be available for everyone. Etsy just doesn't have a great way to put holds on, and I don't like doing the whole like customized listing thing because that's just more work for me. I can either modify the title or I have to put up a whole thing. So I'm just modifying the title. So anyways, but if you guys ever see anything in footage that I haven't listed yet and you want first dibs on it, you just have to let me know and I will try to remember to offer it to you first. Just know that my DMs and emails and stuff get really long and things get buried quickly. I try my best. But anyways, I thought this was really great. This was probably like the crown jewel of that day. So I was really excited about this piece. If I was into Moody florals for my own home, I would be keeping it because it is that good. But luckily it's more Moody than my gallery wall, even though it kind of looks nice. Uh-oh, am I talking myself into it? Gotta not look at it for too long. I can easily talk myself into anything or saving it for the future me in my future room. So anyways, but no, this will be available. Okay, so that's everything from the Brussels market that I wanted to show you. I have 2 pieces of art that you did not see again. One was the canvas, but I figured it's not that exciting because it was, you know, cut off of the wood and rolled. So I felt like I didn't need to show it to you again because it's definitely not gonna be for sale. The other piece of art that I have not shown you actually was something that my mom stole from me. So the story behind that is I was going through some bins and I found a really great piece of art that I definitely wanted, but I wanted to kind of play the long game in acting as if I wasn't that interested in it because I was like looking at the vendor and sizing him up. I'm like, oh, I feel like the price is gonna be high if I show any interest in this. So I pulled it up. I was like, Dad, because he was like next to me. I'm like, what do you think about this? I don't know. It has like a lot of wear on the frame. And I was talking about the wear. I'm like, and I put it down as if like, I don't really care that much about it. So I was like pretend going through some of the other bins, knowing I was gonna go back to that in like a few seconds. In the meantime, my mom comes walking up, grabs that out of the bin and goes, ooh, I love this. It's amazing. And I'm like, Mom, I'm like trying so hard to like eye dagger her like, shh, do not show any interest in this. And she's like, that's so, what do you think? And I'm like, so anyways, we ended up getting it for a good deal. I think it was like 10 or 15 euro for a really beautiful original piece of art that was framed. But I was like, oh my God, like here I'm trying to play this like, you know, lay this groundwork in order to get a better deal. And my mom comes in and does the one thing that you're not supposed to do, which is act excited about anything when you're in those types of environments. You have to be indifferent to it. So anyways, kind of a funny story. So I ended up buying it because I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, this was my long game I was playing. This is for me. She's like, I found it first. I'm like, who was in these bins first? It was me. So anyways, I buy it, I bring it home. I'm lining all my artwork up in front of like my bed area. And then I leave the room. I come back, the art is gone. Because guess who took it? My mom, but technically her birthday was a few days before we left on this trip and I still owed her birthday present. So it is her birthday present. But I was like, Ma! I was like, I was working so hard to get any deals at that market. So anyways, kind of a funny little mom-daughter story when we're out thrifting. Before, we didn't compete on anything because my mom wasn't a reseller, but now that she's a reseller, she wants to get to the good stuff as much as me, which is becoming a problem, which is always the case when you're shopping with someone who has similar tastes. But anyways, yeah, so that piece of artwork is at my mom's house because she has taken it. So before I let you go, I want to talk about how I got all this stuff home, because I've had a few comments on the videos. This is like, you know, part 3. This is the end of the series. If you haven't seen the other 2 videos, you know, definitely check them out, especially part 2, which is when I shop the giant market of like 700 plus vendors. It was phenomenal. But you may be wondering how I got all this stuff home and whether I shipped it, how did I pack it, etc. And so anytime I do these European sourcing trips, I do not ship anything back. I bring over empty suitcases and then I fill them up and then bring them back on the plane. It's so much cheaper to take the items with you on the airplane than it is to ever ship them back to your house. Shipping internationally is insanely expensive. Every once in a while, I'll have a European buyer. A small box like this can be $50 to $100. So you can only imagine like a 50-pound box to ship back. It would be way more than the cost of luggage. And so that's one thing I advise people to do if you're gonna go and source some stuff. If you're not like doing a container and you're just a person going over to bring a bunch of souvenirs back, then, you know, I would recommend bringing empty suitcases over. And I know some people are like, does the airline think that's weird if you're bringing empty suitcases? Is that suspicious? I know some people are like, isn't that too suspicious? And I'm like, no, it just signals to them that you're probably gonna go shopping. So when I actually was dropping off my 2 huge bags that only weighed like 15 pounds, the person that was checking me in was like, you're going shopping, aren't you? I'm like, yes, I am. I'm going big time shopping. And so what I usually do is I pack a ton of packing materials inside those bags, at least to fill them out a little bit. And that way I'm not having to source packing materials when I go to Europe. So I bring a lot of these Amazon mailers because they can act as like a sleeve to put breakables in. So I always basically ask anyone I know to save these for me weeks in advance. And then I will bring a ton of these with me. I brought basically a roll of bubble. Like I took it off the roll and had it flat. I brought cardboard and packing paper. I bought 2 different types of tape. I bought my normal plasticky, you know, packing tape, and then I also brought painter's tape. That way I could tape anything that had glass or anything that I felt was pokey. So if anything was pokey, I would put tape on it, or I would tear cardboard and put it over that. That way it didn't puncture anything around it. And then I also brought a bunch of teeny tiny packaging boxes. So not like shipping boxes. This would be like your cardboard box, like a toy would come in, or if you bought yourself like a new anything and the item came in like a thin cardboard box, I would bring those with me because that can help like fortify around things that are a little bit more breakable or corral small things together. And so you saw what I do with the art. I make those sandwiches with cardboard, and cardboard is something you can find everywhere in the world. And so, and usually when you're like traveling, you'll probably hit at least 1 garbage day in a city, if not more. And so if I ever need more materials, I just go through the garbage, which I know sounds weird, but if you can get clean cardboard, that can save you and save your stuff that you're planning to bring back. In terms of the tools I usually bring a box cutter, and I bring scissors and a scale. Now, historically speaking, I usually have had one of those little hand scales, you know, like you loop it around your luggage and you pull up. Well, these bags are like 50 pounds. I usually fill them up to their max, so I can't lift 50 pounds of bag with one arm. It is impossible, and usually you can't get the height. Like you have to stand on a table or a chair to be able to even lift the item up enough to get the actual, you know, have it dangle in, you know, then the weight is measured. And so for this trip, I actually got a luggage scale, so like a large flat scale that you would use in shipping. I paid, I want to say 25 bucks for it. So granted, it was an investment, but for someone like me who's really, really petite and small, I didn't want to pull a back muscle and hurt myself trying to lift 50-pound bags. And then even though I was with my dad and my parents, my dad has had 2 major abdominal surgeries, so he is not supposed to be lifting tons of luggage. And so I just felt like it was better. And it was really an amazing decision because all we had to do was just like like slide the bag on top of the scale, and it was really easy to check the weight. It was very accurate, so when we got to the airport there were no surprises. So I highly recommend traveling with it. The downside is it probably adds like 3 to 5 pounds to your bags, and so every, you know, pound counts. And so when you're traveling with there, you have to keep in mind, like, okay, how much should all this stuff weigh before I even start adding stuff to it? So a couple more questions I get in terms of packing. One is, am I only using hard-bodied luggage? And the answer is no. Both of my very large bags are soft body. I don't necessarily recommend a duffel bag because duffels, they just don't structurally accommodate things like art. I wanted to make sure that I had the largest opening so I could bring back fairly large pieces of art. And the best versions of those are kind of the soft body, large square wheelie bags that have like the fabric outside. And frankly, that's been fine. I usually make sure to put anything that's really, you know, truly breakable. It's already bubbled and it's usually like in a little box. And then it's nested more inside. And then the pieces of art like this are oftentimes on top because, you know, they're hard bodied. And so that's how I kind of put those together. So I haven't had a problem shipping, or rather taking items on the plane in a soft body bag. You don't necessarily need ones that have the hard shell. So whatever you have, and I think that the softer body ones are a little bit more inexpensive anyways, which is why I use them. And the final thing I get asked is, what happens when you try to bring this stuff back into the States? And so there are lots of rules and guidelines around what you're allowed to bring in terms of souvenirs before you have to pay any, like, I guess it was a duty or tax. And then also items when you bring them into the country to resell. And so there's thresholds that you just need to be mindful of when you're bringing stuff back into the country. And of course, the government wants to know, like, generally, what are you bringing back in? And so if you were to be asked, or if you have to fill out any paperwork, obviously you have to be truthful on what you bring in, antiques, artwork, etc. And so just know that when you, enter the country again, those types of questions are, could be asked on your intakes paperwork, depending on what country you're traveling from, what country you're traveling to. I mean, it just all varies. So I always recommend, check the websites of the various countries you're going to be traveling through and what your final destinations are and what their expectations are and what's required in terms of reporting of what you're bringing into the country. I think a lot of people really panic about bringing in large volumes of souvenirs and antiques, and it's not something to be scared of. So you no need to panic or worry. I mean, TSA and border control and everybody is used to people bringing souvenirs home with them. That's what most people are doing. So there's nothing to be nervous about. But I know some people get a little nervous, like, I'm bringing large volumes of things back in. I mean, this is not considered large volumes, especially for people that are traveling internationally. A lot of times people have a lot of luggage, so that's pretty common. Okay, so that is a wrap on my Belgium sourcing trip. I hope you enjoyed shopping with me in Europe. If you like this type of video, I actually went to France and the UK the year prior, and so I have a whole playlist of those episodes too. Anything that's gonna be available for you guys will be listed on Etsy, and if you're interested in more decorating and thrifting content between these haul videos, make sure you check me out on Instagram. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Take care.